From the studio that brought you hits like Monster Trucks comes a movie about Tom Cruise who's doing a mission that's impossible. Dead Mission Imposter Reckoning is so offensively bad that I could not just turn my brain off and enjoy it as so many people tell me to. I swear, my friends and family are always telling me to just calm down and enjoy the movie. But hey, if Paw Patrol the movie is gonna have bad writing in it, then I can criticize it for having it. Quick note, sorry for literally vanishing for 2 weeks. I had a very busy schedule. But hey, if you're an absolute Chad and you stuck around, thank you so much, you wonderful person. Hopefully some new content will be coming soon. Anyway, back to the show. So I'm gonna be completely transparent here. I watched this movie like a week ago and have not refreshed my memory, but we're just gonna push through it because I remember the juicy parts and that's all we need. Let's get through all the crappy stuff first so we can start to enjoy ourselves near the end of the video, because I don't think this movie is all bad, but we need to properly evaluate it first. The dialogue. Oh boy. I'm trying to think of a good analogy here. The dialogue feels as though they brought in a rabid dog tripping on LSD. When did I write this? The dialogue feels as though they brought in a rabid dog tripping on LSD and instructed him to select words from the dictionary at random while silently cackling to themselves at how clever they are. Wow. I'll give an example of bad dialogue in this movie. In one of the first scenes, there are a bunch of important dudes sitting in a room talking about a mysterious AI thing. I don't remember this scene exactly, but what I constantly remember popping up was the line, "So what you're saying is," and then they proceed to tell the audience exactly what they want to tell them. This is a very, very good example of why this movie fails to capture me. It treats the audience like a bunch of ignorant toddlers who just stuck a crayon up their nose. Every time the movie wants to establish something clever, they don't do it with good dialogue or an action scene or a cool character moment. They just flat out tell it to you. And when they do perform any slight, ever so subtle piece of dialogue that has just the tiniest bit of nuance, another character will come in and be like, "So what you're saying is," and proceed to tell the audience exactly what the writers want to tell them. I mean, come on, I didn't expect perfect writing from a Mission Impossible movie, but the audience is not 6 years old. We can detect subtleties in dialogue. For the rest of the movie, it's just your standard action dialogue, cheesy one-liners, villains monologuing so the hero can save someone, your basic shebang. Okay, so I know I addressed the whole treating the audience like they're 2 years old thing in that last section, but bear with me a little bit because there is yet another way the movie talks down to the audience, and you're gonna love this one. Stupid gotcha moments. Here's another example from that same scene in the room with the important dudes. Directly before this scene, there's an intense action scene that's for the most part done well by action movie standards, and in it, a character supposedly dies. Now, in this scene in the room, the dudes mention that girl that just supposedly died, and the movie cuts back to her dead body and shows us that that's the girl they're talking about, and that she is very much dead. Thank you, movie, I would never have known that. Again, there's just no subtlety or nuance at all. Not one bit. We can't catch a break until they throw another flashback scene in there to make sure we're paying attention. The sheer amount of times that the movie artificially flashes back to talk down to the audience is actually baffling. It is flabbergasting. And that isn't even the worst part about that particular scene. She turns out to be alive. What? And I have no problem with that. They treat it as the biggest gotcha moment ever. Let me reenact it to show how stupid it is. Girl gets shot. Oh no, how terrible. Tom Cruise comes up to her and is like, "Aw, shucks, she's dead. Oh well." In the next scene, on this graph, it shows that this lady dies. Cuts back to her dead body. She is dead. I agree. She is a dead person. Sounds good to me. She's a dead girl. Dead person. Dead. She's dead. Oh, she's alive. Woo! It made me want to leave the theater immediately. There are so many pointless gotcha moments that have no purpose or weight to the plot other than to make the audience feel dumb or something. The villain of Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning is quite atrocious. It's something called the Entity, which is just one big confused metaphor about AI today. But it approaches the topic in the least subtle way. I'm sorry, I know I keep talking about subtlety, but it's just that subtlety is an extremely important part in a lot of aspects of film. And when a movie like this has no subtlety at all, it's hard not to constantly mention it. The villain feels like a villain for a generation that doesn't actually understand AI, but is nonetheless afraid of it. The questions and concerns that come with AI are complicated and hard. But don't worry, because Tom Cruise is gonna kill AI or something? I don't know. This is the problem with taking on an extremely nuanced, complicated, and hard issue and approaching it in the least nuanced way possible. It's a movie that kind of wants to say something without actually saying anything. The characters are a bit rough, to say the least. There was one point in the movie where a character was in a car chase and she got hit really hard. It shattered the window and the movie went silent. I was so happy because, one, I didn't care for that character, and two, they were adding a bit of realism to the car chase. But then she ended up being alive and they went on another dumb car chase. There's another moment in the climax, quick spoiler warning if you care about a twist being spoiled, skip here to avoid, where Paris betrays the Entity for a couple of reasons, and they fumbled her arc so bad and then killed her off. What? But then it turns out that she's alive, which is like the 17th time that has happened in this movie, and everything is fine and dandy. I'm really excited to finally talk about the good stuff, because I think it can serve as a really important lesson in good writing. Around the whole movie, there are some bits of quality, but there's one scene in particular that stood out as a diamond in the rough. In the climax, when the train cars are falling one by one, this is actually a really good scene, or at least I personally enjoyed it. There's a moment when a piano is on the verge of falling onto Tom Cruise, and that is single-handedly the most tension-filled scene in the whole movie. This is a very important lesson about stakes. The whole world could be on the verge of ending, and there are big explosions and extremely high stakes, but I could not feel a tiny bit of tension if it's not done well. Where on the other hand, you could have the tiniest bit of stakes, for example, the movie Gaslight, when the picture frame is missing from the wall, and it could be the most nerve-wracking, spine-chilling moments in all of cinema. It doesn't matter what is at stake, it's about how you establish what's at stake, and how you make the audience actually care. back to Mission Impossible, the scene where the piano is about to fall is not just a good scene because a piano is about to fall. It's a good scene because a minute before you saw how high up they were. It's a good scene because the movie established these characters and their goals, and that might end all of it if this piano falls. It's a good scene because of the music and how the scene feels compared to just a moment before. There are so many things that go into good stakes, and this one singular scene is a wonderful example of how to play with the idea of stakes. But then after the scene, we go back to our regularly scheduled show and the good stuff goes away. I like the stunts and a small bit of the comedy, and that's about it. Overall, this is not a good movie. Not even close. I know it's not supposed to be a tightly written, beautiful movie of the century, but I have a curse where I can't just turn off my brain and enjoy a dumb movie. And if anyone tries to tell you to turn off your critical brain and consume the dumb action, tell them that movies should be judged regardless of their intentions and intended audiences. And with that, have a wonderful day, you cliff-jumping spy people. Hi, Future Brody here. I forgot to give this movie a rating out of 10. I just wrote the script and completely forgot to do that. So I'd give this movie about a 4.1 out of 10. Thanks. Bye.